Hey,
It's called Raunchy Talk.
okay. Hey, you guys, it's Rhonda Talk. I'm Rhonda.
I'm Reggie, and this is Raunchy Talk.
So,
Can't do nothing. Go ahead, babe. I'm just
Yeah.
messing with you.
I know. Let's talk about some trending topics.
Yeah, because that's what people do nowadays, right?
Yeah.
We talk about other people's business and another thing, just put people's business out there. No, we're not putting the business out there. They put their own business out there.
Yes.
And we just comment about it.
We just comment about it.
So we got every right to comment about stuff.
Yes.
Air out your dirty laundry. I can see it.
Now,
Don't be mad at me.
I like when we talk about other people because, my philosophy in life is to listen and not judge. And yours is kind of different.
Yeah.
So I think we have a good yin and yang.
Yeah, I think we do. I can be a
things.
little bit judgmental.
Yeah, but I think
for good reasons.
I think that's a good balance.
Yeah, I agree.
So, first thing.
First thing.
What's up with your boy Shannon Sharp?
Whew. Okay. So, I think, you heard the whole situation where he is involved, where he's being sued by a fans only model.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know her name right off the top of my head, but he's being sued by her and she wants $50 million.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically.
Did she say why though? Why is she suing him?
It's for sexual assault.
Okay.
And how are you supposed to do it on you? What's that shit they do? I ain't even supposed to say shit on here, man.
I think you can.
I mean, I know I can, but you know how they say, oh, don't say that. Say SEX and all that stupid stuff. You know how YouTube. And SA. I'm not doing that. I'm telling y'all right now, I'm not doing that stuff. So if they're going to flag me or something like that, so be it. I got to talk like I got to talk. So anyway, it's a fans only model. And apparently he's been seeing her for a while. And she decided to file a sexual assault charge against him. And she has hired the same attorney as the girl that, claimed that she was raped by Jay-Z and so on. His name is Busby. His last name is Busby. So he's kind of like a Better Call Saul type of dude. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? He's like that,
Better Call Saul.
Chase big cases,
female. What's that female attorney's name?
Gloria Allred.
Yeah, her too.
So he's kind of like the new Gloria. He's like the male version of Gloria Allred. I always find these sexual assault people that, want to sue somebody for a bunch of money and they end up selling and making a bunch of money. Oh, yo. And Gloria Allred's daughter is Lisa Bloom.
Who's Lisa Bloom?
Lisa Bloom's attorney, and she's a television attorney, but she does the same thing. And her and her mom got this hustle, you know what I'm saying, where like Gloria Allred will bring the case against somebody. Like she'll go get the victims and line them up and say, oh, tell your story, sweetie. Tell your story, what happened to you. And these people, and they cry and say what they got to say. On the flip side, Lisa Bloom would be like defending the other dudes, and then they usually reach like a settlement.
So they both get paid.
Yeah, so that's what happened in the Harvey Weinstein case, because they had different names. A lot of people didn't peep that, that first time around when they reached a settlement. Gloria Allred, her mother, was handling the victims, and Lisa Bloom was handling the accused, what I'm saying? And they reached an agreement and everybody get paid,
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's their hustle. So, I mean, But anyway, so Shannon Sharp is being sued by this fans only girl, young white girl, 19, and she said that he sexually assaulted her. Now, the little snippets and things that I've heard and whatnot, it sounds like Shannon is into kind of like role playing. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like I'm the big black, man, mm-hmm. and you the little white chick, and I'm gonna take you and I'm gonna, rape you and I'm gonna put a black baby inside of you. That's what it is.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a role play thing. So it doesn't sound like it's anything criminal. It sounds like it's consensual. The girl is 19. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is, he's just getting fleeced. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people are talking about how Monique was on Club Shay Shay and she tried to warn him about being 56 years old and chasing young women that he didn't know that game and that he should just get somebody his own age that could relate to him. You know, cook him some food, love him, and this and that. And he laughed about it. He's like, oh, come on, girl. Let me live my life.
Well, the truth about it is, yes, because he may not want that kind of lifestyle. But if he do just want a young girl, you know what he should, in my opinion, what he should do is he should get a young girl that he likes, have a conversation, and make her sign a contract or an NDA. This is what we doing. We writing it down. You gonna sign it. So if you flip the script on me, I got everything written down.
Right.
And then once we do that, then we can play.
Yeah, you're supposed to have the receipts.
But when you are a celebrity, you have a responsibility to yourself and the people in your circle to protect yourself and to protect people.
Protect your family.
Protect your family.
Protect your image.
Yes.
And for him to have been...
And your brand.
Yeah. Now, you know...
Because he just got that deal.
He did.
When you have to do things like that, like you get brand deals and stuff like that,
you have $100 million deal.
You have to protect your image because otherwise you ain't going to have no brand deals. Ain't nobody going to want to mess with you.
Yeah. And so he's warning everybody that there's a sexual tape that's probably going to come out. And he says it sounds like they're going to show only like maybe 10 to 30 seconds of it, which is going to be, he says, is going to be the worst part of the video. That's going to be the most, not so much incriminating, but it's going to be the most like embarrassing thing. Okay,
it's video, not audio.
It's video. They played some audio, and like Shannon, man, you know,
man, who he let her videotape, or she did it on the slide?
Did it on the slide. He didn't know about it.
Okay,
but it's like a phone call they played.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that part. The like 30 seconds of the phone call.
My thing was, you know, like you can tell when somebody's setting you up. Like if you listen to the phone call, you can tell she like getting the tape recorder ready or something. You know what I'm saying? You can tell just the pause, the long pause, like, hey, hello. And she's like, okay. Like, does she normally take that long? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it was, the timing of the words coming out, it was really weird.
It was really weird. And like, for him not to pick up on that, man, that's just, you know, the dude's just losing all kind of stripes over that. Because, you know, at the end of the day, I'm like, yo, you should have saw that coming. Yeah. You should have saw it. And then she said certain stuff to get him to say, you know, you make me want to choke the shit out of you. Yeah. And she said something. I don't want you to do that. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. You want me to choke you. You want me to choke you. You know, so it's like, it sounds like that's kind of like a role play thing they do. Yeah. Like she call him up and get him all riled up, and then he gets with her, and then he acts out his, you know, angry black man on the young white female type of thing, role play. That's what I think it is, just a role play.
And I think that that's fine. Everybody has their own kink, but like I said, protect yourself. Yeah. You know, because even when you go to like, you know, professional dominatrix and stuff, you sit down, you discuss your do's and don'ts, you know, your boundaries, all that kind of thing. And then there's a contract. Yeah. So do your research, be professional, you know. Sex and kink is not new.
Ain't nothing new.
Ain't nothing new. But do it the right way. Don't get yourself caught up. And, you know, at a certain age, you should know not to get yourself caught up.
And that's the thing about it. They say, like, you know, he's 56, 57, whatever. Yeah. And I'm just like, why you mess with a 19-year-old? Yeah. You know, like, I get it that, you know, you Shannon Sharpe, and you don't come, you know, you an athlete. You come from athletic stardom. You know, you're not a singer, a regular, normal entertainer type of person. So you thinking, you know, oh, I can do some of this freaky deaky stuff on the low, and ain't nobody gonna be tripping on me. Oh, Shay.
Well, this is what I have learned over the years. Everyone, especially people in the spotlight, if you're in any kind of a business, whether you're in a spotlight or you just running a business, you're an entrepreneur, whatever, anything like that, you need to have mentors, coaches, and advisors that you trust, so that you can talk to about your life, what you want to do, what you have going on, And if you into the kink stuff, you need to have someone on your team that you can talk to about that, because clearly you didn't know what you was doing.
Yeah.
And you needed some advice on how to do it in a safe manner, and because now you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And,
but my thing is why are you messing with like a fans only, like a 19-year-old fans only chick? Like, you couldn't find, you know, like at least somebody like 27. You know, because you know when you before you turn 25, that front part of your brain,
yes.
logics, it hasn't developed in the front of the brain yet. That
yes.
brain, in if y'all don't know, until you turn like 26, between 26, 27, you don't really start thinking reasonably and stuff, because there's a certain part of your brain that has not developed yet. And so maybe he don't know that. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe
which is why he needs mentors and advisors in his life.
Yeah. But no man, especially 56, has any business. I don't care how much money you got, messing with a 19-year-old anything.
That's true. It's just not a good idea.
There's nothing in common. There's nothing there. Like, you're not even in a capacity where you could be teaching or something.
Well, some men don't want to do that. If it's just sex.
No. I'm just saying, like, if you're out in public,
and
you're 56 and you're with a 19-year-old, it just looks weird. Period.
Yeah.
Like, if it's not your daughter or granddaughter or something like that, people like gonna cringe at that. Yeah. Now, I know some kinky people out there, there's freaky people out there that like being with young girls and different things and whatnot. I'm talking about sane people in their right mind. You would not be hanging around a 19-year-old child. And dig this. This is the crazy part. And a lot of people say, "Oh, he guilty." Well, it's not that he's guilty. It's just that that's what he did. He's a freak. You know what I'm saying? And he offered her $10 million, and she turned that down. Now, I'm sorry.
What did she say? 50? She wants
$50 million.
Oh, okay.
Half of his new deal, basically.
Okay.
And he was like, you know, but just think about that. You're 56 years old, and you're about to get fleeced for $10 million from a 19-year-old.
That's crazy.
Man, dude, you losing stripes major. God, man, it's like, man, you can't even like show your face. Like around some real men. You know what I'm saying? Bro, you go to the Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame dinner or something like that. People gonna be looking at you like, stank eye you, man.
Yeah, you should know better.
You look like a fool, man. But you know what's so crazy? R. Kelly got caught up in his kinky stuff.
Yeah.
Kanye got his kinky stuff,
Yeah.
They fellow Chicagoans, you know what I'm saying? And
where is Shannon Sharpe from?
He was born in Chicago. A lot of people don't know that. Shannon Sharpe was born in Chicago, so he was drinking some of that Chicago water as a baby, y'all. So look, let me tell you something, man. They got Chicago looking like we just got some freak nasty people just.
Well, we know different.
Yeah, we know different, but
because we're from Chicago.
Yeah, we're from Chicago, but these people in the spotlight, people say, "Oh, Chicago people, they must be some really freaky people. They're just nasty. They're filthy. They're filth-floored and filth. Oh my God." So, I'm just saying, just letting y'all know, man, that ain't what Chicago about. Folks from Chicago ain't like that.
No.
Don't believe that. Ain't nobody no freaky deaky stuff all like that. And there's some freaky deaky people, but the majority of Chicago's ain't about that, man. Chicago, you about your hustle. You about to grind, making your money, living life and surviving.
Yeah.
That's Chicago. You know what I'm saying? It's nitty gritty.
But yeah, because every day you got to be watching your back and being aware and being conscious of stuff that's going on around you and who you're talking to and who you're hanging out with and all that kind of stuff. So
you could be in a situation where it's like, depending on where you live, it's like every other 3 blocks, every other 3 to 6 blocks. You better know where you walking.
Yeah.
You better, ain't no how California. You come out to California, you got to check in. Ain't no checking in Chicago. There ain't nobody to check in with. There is nobody to check in with. It's a whole bunch of chiefs, all over. It's chiefs everywhere. You got to get to know them and know rocking with these dudes and now songs. Yeah. You just can't go anywhere.
You gotta know where to go, where not to go.
Yeah, have you some relatives.
Yeah. That's if you want to be hanging out in the streets,
Well, yeah, that's true. If you're out in the street. If you're out in the street, you ain't really got nothing to worry about. But
well, I want to know what our viewers think about this whole Shannon Sharpe thing. So if you guys have some comments, put them in the chat.
Yeah. And, does Shannon deserve to get burned?
Yeah.
Does he? Did he ask for it? And does he deserve to get burned for $50 million? Is that what he deserved? For being silly? You can't feel sorry for him.
Yeah.
But it's just embarrassing to see a black man put himself in that position. You get the deal of a lifetime. You get that $100 million offer deal for your own work, hard work. That ain't got nothing to do with ESPN. This is all Shannon's hard work through podcasting and all the stuff he's working with Ocho and all that stuff, man. He put in a lot of hard work.
Yeah. I want to know what men think. I kind of feel like I know what women think, but I want to know what men think, and I want to know what women think because, we think differently.
We do.
And,
we do.
I want to kind of know what everybody out there is vibing on.
So does he deserve what he getting?
Yeah.
Does he deserve any compassion? People say, "Oh man, that's messed up. I'm sorry to see him going through that. His brother going, getting dragged through, through the ringer. Is this a situation of that's what happens when you play in the snow? Is that what this is about?
You get frostbite.
You get caught up in the blizzard when you're out there in the snow.
Maybe so.
I ain't saying anything wrong with playing in the snow. Those of y'all that know.
So
you know what I'm talking about when I talk about playing in the snow?
No.
You don't know what I'm talking about when I say playing in the snow?
No.
That means, interracial dating.
Oh, is that what that's about?
Yes, playing in the snow. When you're black and you play in the snow. It's called, interracial. White girl. Well, in your case, white boy, white man, It's about, did he get lost in the snow?
So here's the thing. And this is going to start a whole new rabbit hole that we're going down right here. So, what you say it's called? Playing in the snow?
Playing in the snow.
So here's the thing. Is playing in the snow or interracial relationships still even a big deal?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Does it depend on your age?
That's a good question.
Does it depend on the region, the city, the state that you live in? Does it depend on how much money you have?
That's a real good question.
Those are so many different variables.
Yeah, that's a real good question. I don't know. I would think today it's not as big of a deal.
Yeah.
If somebody white's with somebody black, vice versa, somebody Puerto Rican's with some, Asian with somebody, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I really don't.
And I think specifically, we're older. I think especially as you get older, it's not that big of a deal because, for the most part, older people are more experienced and they just, start to try new things as they get older and are just more comfortable with new things and who they are and who they're evolving into in their 50s and 60s and 70s.
Whoa.
And then you have, what is our youngest son? He's like what is that? Gen Z, millennial? Not millennial.
I don't know. It's one of those.
Whatever it is. He's in his 30s. So that age group, I think also, they do a lot of interracial.
Yeah, they do. I don't really think it's a big deal about it. I just think it becomes an issue when something like this happens.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like when somebody got, like just recently, with the NFL draft and everything, Deion Sanders' son, Shedeur Sanders, got pranked by an NFL assistant coach, not assistant coach, but a defensive coach for, I can't remember what the team is right now, but somehow this defensive coach, his son got a hold of the official number that you use to call from the draft thing, and he did a prank call to Shedeur, making acting like he had got drafted by this particular team, and he was playing a prank on him.
Oh,
and in that situation, it's tricky because it's like,
it was another player that did that?
No, it was the coaches. It was the defensive coaches. One of the defensive coaches' sons.
Okay.
He was home from college and he decided to prank Shedeur by acting like he was calling from the NFL about the draft.
Because the guy who did the prank, his dad works for the NFL.
His father's the coach.
Okay. For what
He's
team?
a defensive
Do we
coach.
know?
I don't know right now. I don't know what team it is, to be honest with you. I don't remember what it is.
Okay.
Which team? I
Because
don't know. I think it might have been the Cincinnati Bengals or something like
okay.
that. I don't know.
But who did he really get drafted to? Was it Cleveland?
I think he ended up in Cleveland. I
Yeah.
think finally he ended up in Cleveland. His brother Shiloh, I think, is going to Tampa Bay. I think.
Oh, they both in the draft?
Yeah, they both in the draft.
So.
Can I finish talking about the portion I was talking about?
Yeah,
Can you
ahead.
hold your thought?
Okay.
So that whole prank thing, this being the fact that the kid was white, and his father's white, Shiloh's black. You know, he has a lot of money, a lot of prestige. Is this hate towards him? And is it white privilege that this kid can pull off this joke and kind of get away with it? And, you know...
was he reprimanded?
Don't seem like it. They're saying the coach didn't know about it. He was unaware of it. And then they're saying that, you know, the son apologized and that Deion Sanders' son accepted his apology and all this other kind of stuff. But if it was a black assistant coach or defensive coach and his son had done that, would it...
To a white person.
Yeah, to a white person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Would it be glossed over just like this? I personally, I don't think so. I think this is a situation of it's white privilege. You know, because some people say, well, what is white privilege? That's what white privilege is.
Yeah.
Like,
where you can get away with stuff.
that coach should be reprimanded for his son being able to get that number and do that.
Yeah.
You got to make an example of him. You know? So I'm still watching to wait and see what happens, but when race is involved in things like that, I think that's where race becomes the issue.
Right.
Not if somebody's dating somebody black or white. It's not so much about that. It's about these situations when it comes down to how the law is handed down to this person or this person because of their color, especially when it involves two different colors. You know?
I agree.
So,
now, they were also talking about Deion Sanders as a dad being, I don't know what words they used, hovering and whatever over his son's careers.
Yeah, careers,
and then someone made a point, well, it wasn't an issue when the Manning dad did it with his sons.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why is it an issue now? Because is it a racial thing?
That's a tough one because I think maybe the reason why he didn't get drafted was because Deion wanted his son to go somewhere particular. And you can't be high up in the draft and necessarily do that because trades have to be made.
Right.
But to get him to go...
Because he was low on the totem pole?
Yeah. I think he went like the 4th round or something like that. So it was way, way down at the bottom. But the bottom line is Deion made it clear that there were certain teams that his sons were not going to play for, whether they got drafted or not. He's like, there's going to be some place. He said, I've been in the NFL long enough to know where my son should play. And if it's some crap, they ain't going there.
Yeah.
So I think people have to take that into account that might have been the consideration of a lot of teams.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like, I'm not picking him up.
If we already know he's not going to go, then why are we going to pick him?
Why are we going to pick him? Why get into a trade and all this other kind of stuff?
Absolutely. Yeah. And was Cleveland on the okay list?
I don't know. I assume so. Deion seemed pretty happy with it. So.
And you said his other son went to where?
Tampa Bay.
Okay.
So he seemed pretty happy with it. But I think people have to remember and take that into account. What Deion said, there's certain teams, my son ain't going to play for them. So I think a lot of NFL teams stayed away from it instead of getting him and saying, okay, well, what you want for your son?
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, like he's some slave or something. Like, what you want to pay for the slave? Everybody just shied away from it.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people maybe...
And that's the respectful thing to do, I think.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people are taking it either just to be trolling, you know, to make a big deal. Oh, see how they treat black people?
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know if it's really that. You know, I think it's more or less of a business thing, you know, where, you know, he ain't going to New England. He ain't, you know. Yeah. And I think the respectful thing was for the teams to stand down and let him go where he wanted to go.
I agree.
It keeps it from being a big rigmarole about they hanging on to him, you know, holding on to him for, you know, ransom, you know, so.
Yeah, and the energy is going to affect the team.
Yeah, and it would affect the team. So I think it's going to kind of blow over now that he's been drafted. He's got his team and this and that. I think this is all going to go away. But I still go back to the whole thing about the prank. I feel that that's white privilege that this kid even felt he could do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, he just like, hey, man, you know, it'd be cool, man, really funny, man. to prank Shadur, man. Let's prank him, man. Yeah. Fuck yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah, because the question becomes, would he have done that to another white player?
Right, he probably wouldn't have. Mm-hmm. But just the fact that you feel you could do that.
Yeah.
You just the coach's son, bro.
Right.
You home from college, So, and I'm not trying to say he's racist or anything like that. And that's why I like to bring up situations like this and ask people, because some people play dumb, like, well, what is white privilege? Well, what is it? Like, black people don't sit up there and think like, oh, I'm going to come home from college and I found this official NFL number line, and I'm going to prank a possible pro athlete coming into the NFL. Mm-hmm. I'm going to prank him. And he pranked him while he was live on his Twitch.
Oh, wow.
He was live on his Twitch when he pranked him. So I don't think it's too many black folks that would do that.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So I feel that this is a really good definition of what white privilege is. When people say, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't understand. What? What? That's white privilege.
Yeah.
Not to be twisted and turned into it being racism. It's just white privilege. It's just things that white people can do. You know what's another thing that's white privilege?
What's that?
And this is true. White people can literally walk out into the street and expect not to get hit by cars. They can just walk in and just be, hey, Bill.
Even if they don't have the right of way.
Hey, Thomas. How's the kids?
I have seen that.
Black folks be looking both ways and, can we go? Can we go? That's white privilege.
Yeah.
When you grow up in a world where you feel like you're in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, you can just cross the street, Mr. Trolley gonna stop for you. Ain't nobody gonna run you over. Baby in a stroller. That's white privilege. And I'm not, and I don't want to misconstrue, like I said, white privilege with somebody being racist. It's just things that you get to do because you're white.
Right, and you don't even think about it.
And you don't think about it. They don't think about that kind of stuff. They don't understand the privileges that they have because they're white, that they get to do things, go in the store, ain't nobody profiling you. Why? You coming in to steal something?
Yeah.
Who's that black guy with the funny hat on? I'm sure he's here to steal. Yeah, better watch him. But, so I don't want to dwell on that too long.
White privilege is a thing. So if you have experienced that or have some stories to share.
Yeah, if you got some stories about that, and if you agree with me, put it in the comments below, because I would really like to delve into white privilege, because I don't see enough videos out here explaining it, like white privilege. I mean, we're on another topic now, but white privilege is where, over the years, you've always seen where where somebody white will come and take somebody's invention, somebody else black or something like that. They just take the shit. They just take it. Mm-hmm.
Lots of examples of that.
You didn't put a patent on it. You didn't do this and you didn't do that. Still take the exact idea, change a couple things. Oh, this is my idea. That's white privilege.
Yeah.
That's white privilege when you go and take somebody else's stuff and you're going to make it your own, and not acknowledge. That's white privilege.
Yeah.
When you can get away with that kind of stuff. That's the reality of it. No, that's what I'm saying. So if you've experienced running into somebody and they used white privilege on you, or if you've had a situation where you've run into somebody white and they've been doing something that's white privilege and they weren't even aware of it.
And also
comment
if you are white
down below.
And you are not aware of white privilege being a thing, if this is something new to you, let us know.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're white, let us know. We'd love to explain it to you. How it's everyday things that go on that you just don't realize. Remember back in the day, and it probably still is a problem. Remember in New York, a black man couldn't get a cab?
Yes.
This is New York, black man couldn't even get a cab. You could be in a suit, money and everything. Cab drive right past you, drive 2 inches past you, and pick up the white person next to you.
Yeah.
That's real. Now I know some of my New York homies can attest to that. Some of my homies up in New York, y'all can attest to that. Y'all can attest to that stuff. You know, but we've all experienced that stuff, man. We've all experienced that stuff. But, you know, and like I said, it's not about racism or anything like that. It's just about just things that you're able to do that, you know. It's kind of the reverse, like, you know, with black privilege, you know. We can use, you know, like the N-word amongst each other, and it's not like a big deal. Ain't nobody gonna hit us. Ain't nobody gonna, you know, threaten our lives or something like that. So it's kind of similar to that, but, you know, white people have a plethora of things that they get to do.
More things.
Way more things that they get to do. That's white privilege. Yeah. Anyway, so what's the next topic you want to move on to? What do you want to move on to next?
So I didn't know about this until you told me, but I think it's a good thing to talk about. So let me preface by saying we're talking about Kanye West. Now, I want to start by saying that I really, as I said, my motto that I live by pretty much is to listen and not judge. However, that being said, I used to really like Kanye when he was coming up in his career. It seemed like he was being really positive.
College dropout Kanye.
Yep, and then he married Kim, and they seemed like they were doing good. They were starting their family. You know, he seemed like he was a good guy, and he probably is a good guy. But I believe that he also started experiencing mental health issues, and that he doesn't have the support, in my opinion, that he needs with his mental health issues. So sometimes he can appear to be off the chain. And so you said that there was something that happened recently that he was off the chain.
Well, it's been quite a number of things. Everybody saw him do the DJ Academics interview when he came out in the custom-made Klan outfit, the black. You know,
I didn't see that.
Yeah. And it was an interview he did. And like typical Kanye, you know, you got to let him say his say. And that's basically what it was. It wasn't so much an interview. It was more like a listening, you know, of Kanye. Okay. Kind of like him just telling you stuff and him venting about some different things. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to ever really interrupt him when he's doing his thing because his attention span messes up. And he gets upset about that, you know, when you mess up his attention span and his flow to what he's doing.
Okay.
But recently, yesterday, I think just recently, he was supposed to go live with his first Twitch telecast or something like that, and he got just like banned, you know, like 10, 15 seconds into it because he came out in this different like little Klan outfit, and they just, you know, killed his stuff right there.
Like, was it like white?
I forgot what color. It wasn't white.
He had his face covered though.
Yeah,
like
he had the little
things
Klan.
That they have?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know,
I really wonder what his thought process is about why he would dress that way.
Well, I think it's attention. He loves attention. He's got,
he got I don't know if ridiculed is the right word, but you know, they had this whole situation with him with, what do they call it when you don't like Jews?
Oh, anti-Semitic.
Anti-Semitic. Mm-hmm. And so there was this campaign going around where they were wearing the
fuck you, Kanye.
The t-shirt, yeah.
Fuck you, Kanye. Yeah.
Yeah, there were a lot of celebrities wearing that.
I saw that. And rightfully so, they had a right to do that.
Yeah.
You know.
But I just wonder, because, so, for me, and I don't really follow him that much, but the last time I was following him, it was a while ago, is when he was doing the church thing with the choir. And so I wonder, if you claim to be a Christian, and maybe his view has changed, but at that time you claimed to be a Christian. So if that's the case, why would you do all these, in my opinion, non-Christian things that are, you know, slander, hate, you know, all that? Why would you do that? So clearly he's not claiming to be a Christian anymore, because none of that stuff is Christian behavior.
Well,
even the stuff with his wife. We'll talk about that later.
Well, the first thing I want to say is that, you know, everybody say, oh, you know, Kanye, you know, he got mental issues and things going on. Kanye has always had that going on. Like, if you grew up on the south side of Chicago and you knew about Kanye, he just that dude. He out there kind of like that. You know, he ain't, Like, I don't think Kanye is not a person that is going to, I don't believe he would do harm to somebody. I just don't feel he's that type of person. But I feel he has a mental condition, which is a little bit borderline, like either sociopath or psychopath, you know.
No, it's more like bipolar, right?
Well, he's bipolar, yeah, but you know, like,
because sociopaths and psychopaths do harm to people, right?
Not necessarily. Like a psychopath will do harm. A sociopath is a little different. And I don't want to get off into definitions and stuff. Y'all can write down in the comments the difference between a sociopath and a psycho. It's similarities, but it's a big difference between them. And I can't off the top of the dome really get into that. But maybe we'll cover that the next time. We'll be ready for that. But he just doesn't strike me as the kind of person that wants to be volatile or this and that, even though he can be volatile. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? He can be very volatile-like, but I don't think it's in him to like really be harmful and hurt people. Mm-hmm. But he has issues, you know, and it's mental issues. It's mental situations that I don't think he wants to address or he wants to admit to. But, you know, he got something going on. But one thing is for sure, if nothing else, Kanye loves attention.
Yeah.
He has to be the center of attention, and it's got to be all about him. So I don't know if he's just going down a list of controversial stuff to pick. Oh, I'm going to be anti-Semitic. I'm going to say I like Hitler. I'm going to do this and do that. And I'm going to put, I know what I'll do. I'll put on like kind of like a shock entertainer.
Yeah.
You know, just what is Kanye doing now?
So is he doing it for attention or is he a true narcissist?
I think he's a true narcissist. I really do. Because a narcissistic person is always in the frame of mind that you lucky I'm helping you. And I picked up the phone to talk to you. You know, you should be grateful. You know, because I shouldn't really be talking to you, but I am. That's a very narcissistic person. And I think he strikes me as that type of person. I mean, it is what it is. You know, I mean, and I think in reality, in real life, he would even admit it himself that he's a very narcissistic person. You know, truth be told, you know, it's like, you know, it is what it is. You can't go around doing all this stuff. I liked Hitler and blah, 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 and Jews this and the Jews did this to black people. Slavery was a choice. You know, like this dude, you know, it's all a part of his, I guess, his marketing, his guerrilla marketing kind of strategy, you know, to impact people and to say, hey, buy my outfits, buy my attire, buy my shoes.
So much extremism.
Yeah, you know, I'm dropping a new album. And then on the album, I haven't listened to it yet, but I hear that he has a song on there called Cousins. And apparently, rumor has it that this song is about him and his cousin at a very young age looking at pornography and apparently getting aroused by it. And they both decided to try out what they was looking at. That's
on each other?
On each other.
Mm-hmm.
So
a boy cousin.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a homosexual encounter with his own cousin at a young age. And apparently, you know, they was, you know, doing some, you know, some sword fighting and
I just don't understand why you would put that out there. Why would you not keep that to yourself?
Because he wants attention. You know, he figured either he has some type of reasoning for, I have to get this certain amount of attention to get all eyes on me. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe has been building up to him finally going on Twitch and getting his own thing where he's just sitting up there talking and he can just ramble crazy stuff and people tuning in to watch him.
So is that like a podcast? Or it's Twitch like is a thing where you can just go on and talk. Anyone can do that. Okay.
You can live stream. You know.
So here's my thing about the whole cousin situation. First of all, I'm sure he only has so many male cousins. And what are they saying about this whole situation? Well, I would be curious to know.
Time is going to tell. Time is going to tell with that cousin. Like, if he got a bunch of male cousins, don't nobody know which male cousin it is.
Yeah.
Per se.
But I'm sure they're going to talk about it amongst themselves.
I'm sure they are. And if that cousin wants to get a payday, he can get him a quick payday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the cousin. He did it to me. He forced me to do it. And now I'm suing him for $50 million. I'm telling you. So I don't know what Kanye's thinking is. The boy has always been kind of off. He's always been off. Very talented. Very talented. He does some genius. He does some. I say he does some ingenious things.
Yeah.
I'm not sold that he's a genius. I'm not sold on that. He does some ingenious stuff. Some of the things he do is, man, that's some genius shit he did there. But some of that stuff, man, I'm sorry, y'all, man. Some of that stuff Ye do, man, it'd be like, all right, it's mid. It's mid. You know what I'm saying? People be freaking out on him doing stuff on the ASR 10. Oh man, that's just, man, he's a genius on the ASR 10.
But what is that?
That's a sampling keyboard.
Okay. For those of us.
Oh yeah, for those of y'all who don't know, it's a sampling keyboard and music that people use to sample music and to chop up beats and different things. And the ASR 10 basically allows you to take patterns and you can expand upon them, and then you can kind of use the keys to play them a little bit longer than the other ones. And instead of those who are aware doing the typical MPC chopping of, chop like that, ASR 10, you kind of finesse the samples to being what you want them to be, and then you play them not necessarily on the beat, but you play it as you want the sample to flow within the beat.
So you have more flexibility.
You have more flexibility. You can do it. You can do it on the MPC too. You can do it in FL Studio with Slice X. I'm sure you can do it in Ableton. There's ways of doing everything. It's all sampling at the end of the day, y'all. It's all sampling. You hear people say, oh, get your MPC, get you this. And some of y'all don't. Musicians out there, you know what I'm talking about. You musicians, y'all know what I'm talking about. People say, you gotta have an MPC. That's it, the MPC. Don't matter, man. It's all digital. Chop it up.
It's just a matter of preference. Some people like working
with one machine
or another.
But one ain't necessarily better than the other. It's all just to get you to buy some stuff. I done bought a lot of that stuff. But it ain't what they say it is. Anybody out there that's thinking about getting an MPC, the very first thing I would do, I would get a laptop, and then you go and download the Akai MPC Beats, the software. That'll give you a look into an idea of how a regular MPC works, a standalone. It's cheaper. You know why? Because it's free. Akai MPC Beats. Do that first before you buy an MPC. You do that first. And it'll give you a full understanding of MPC before you go spending a whole bunch of money, sitting up there racking your brains, paying somebody for a master class.
Now, what was the first piece of equipment that you were talking about? The
ASR 10.
ASR 10.
Yeah. Okay. Unsonic made that. They don't make it anymore.
Oh,
they don't make it anymore. Yeah.
Okay.
You got to get them used, rent them, But anyway.
So just FYI, before we go into the next and last subject,
yeah.
I'm sure you guys who know about music have kind of figured out that Reggie knows a lot about music.
A little something.
So
if you have questions,
feel free to put that in the chat.
Yeah, if y'all got some questions or something, y'all want to try to tap my brain about some music stuff. I don't know everything, but I know the most important stuff. All the way up to publishing. I know all that stuff.
You've been doing music your whole life.
I've been around it my whole life. Fortunate. I was born into it, so that has helped me a great deal to give me knowledge and insight to a lot of stuff that other people aren't privy to. Yeah. First-hand knowledge. And I'm thankful to my parents for that. May God rest their souls.
So the last thing that I want to talk about is, and you may not be privy to this information because, we follow different news streams and channels and stuff, and like I said earlier, men and women think differently. Yeah. But I am, as you know, going to be 62 in December.
Really?
And so for a while
I'm already
now.
62.
Yes.
Big 6'2", baby.
For a while
did
now,
it, y'all. Still kicking it, man.
Lately, it's been trending more, but for the last 5-10 years, it's been building up steam. This whole premenopause, menopause, postmenopause thing that as we get older, women experience. And so there's just a lot more prevalent information in the news. And so one thing that I was listening to some info today and found out that something new that they're talking about is that when you, first of all, there are steps. Menopause is a one-off experience. So you are in a premenopausal phase, and then one day you're in menopause, and then that's it. You're in menopause, and that's it. And then after that come all these symptoms, experiences, lifestyle changes that happen as a result of being in menopause. The same way that when you're younger, they say you're a preteen and you have these preteen symptoms, for lack of a better term. And then one day you become a teen and you go through puberty. So one day you actually hit puberty, and then that is a thing that's final. And then after that comes the whole lifestyle changes or whatever that come as a result of going from not being in puberty to puberty. So it's the same with menopause. One day you're going to be in menopause, and then the next day comes how your life changes. So two things that they talked about that they haven't really talked about in the past was the mental things that happen. One is brain fog, and one is just not remembering. And so I brought that up because I remember in my 50s, I started to have a lot of trouble with remembering things. And I'm sure you can attest to that. And then even having some brain fog issues consistently and not really knowing what that was about. And so now they're talking about those are actually menopause symptoms. And I feel like it's important to bring up because, first of all, women start premenopause, I think, earlier now, where it used to be 50s. A lot of women are in their 40s having premenopause or perimenopause is what they call it, symptoms. And then, supposedly somewhere between 50 and 60, you actually hit menopause. And then after that, there's a whole rabbit hole about all the things, the hot flashes, which is mostly what people talk about. But there's other things too, like I said, the mental health, like the brain fog, the not remembering, and stuff like that. And I just think that it's important as women that, number one, not only do we start doing more research about understanding our bodies and how they work and why they work and what we can do about it. Because then there's the whole thing about the hormone therapy with the estrogen and progesterone and the natural remedies and, how you can balance everything out. But I think one of my goals is to really, even though I'm past that phase, have an understanding of everything, mental, physical, emotional, how it affects, and be able to share that with my clients and just with women in general, especially our daughters, because they're in their 30s and 40s. And so one lady was saying it's good to just keep track of all the things that you go through and share that with the women in your family, because when they experience things, then they'll have a better understanding. And mentally, they were saying that's one thing that really helps is that when you go through something, and not just with menopause, but with anything in life, when you go through an emotional trauma or some big change in your life, if you can at least understand what's going on, why it's going on, how it happened, and how you can deal with it, that takes the stress out of life. Whereas you just don't understand, like, why is this happening? What's wrong with me? But when you have some kind of understanding, it helps to lower your stress level. But now that you realize that maybe possibly in my 50s that I was going through menopause symptoms when I just couldn't remember anything, or when I was having brain fog. You know, you're gonna cut me some slack.
Sure, I'll cut you slack. I mean, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can't help whatever it was you was going through. And I mean, even if at that time I wasn't accepting or I wasn't understanding it, knowing about it now gives clarity to that.
Yeah.
But I mean, what if ever I was upset at you or something like that for forgetting some different stuff, or either if I was impatient with you or something like that, that's basically what I was feeling at that time.
Yeah.
That's just what I was at. Like, you was in whatever you was in at that time. I was in whatever I was in, you know. But I'm glad that there's some explanation to it, that it wasn't just, you know, you being, you know, standoffish or doing something on purpose just to get on my nerves and stuff, which sometimes it seemed like, because I was like, man, I can't, you want me to sit up and really believe that you forgot that? Yeah. You know, and so sometimes things was like that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, in life. And I think that's what a lot of us have to face up to. I mean, nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
And nobody's everybody got like physician backgrounds and different stuff to know about menopause and how it affects you. I mean, it's stuff I'm sure that men go through when they get older too. When they get older in their 50s and stuff, start forgetting stuff and
that's true.
Tired,
and you know what? I feel like
short-tempered, you know.
That has a lot to do with, you know, we had talked about before how the divorce rate for 50 and older has gone up over 50%.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, all of the mental, emotional issues that our bodies go through when we get older, men and women, you're right. It actually has a lot to do with it. But because nobody talks about it,
right?
And it doesn't seem to be an outlet to get information, you know, it ends in a divorce because you just can't seem to communicate with each other.
Whereas generations before us, they were very like religious. So they had these pacts, you know, that, I couldn't think about,
They just live with it.
And just live with it. You know, this is the person I chose, and I'm going to die with them. And, you know, the Lord, good Lord is going to, you know. Yeah. So people were more religious, but as religion has gotten more out of people's lives and people are having to deal with those same things, they're looking for answers to why is this happening and stuff, and it's not a lot of answers and information out there.
Yeah.
So you have people breaking up and, man, heifer was blah blah blah. Man, she know damn well I told her don't do this, and she kept doing it. You know, so it could be menopause.
Right.
You know, having somebody act that way, or if she goes off on you, you know, cook your own damn dinner. I've been cooking for you for 30-something years. It could be menopause.
Yeah. And I think also another thing that affects menopause and even men, whatever their issues are when they get older, is that people also change sexually. Like people want more or less sex, and then you become incompatible in that area.
Yes.
And you don't really know how to have a conversation or work through it or whatever.
Segment it up and whatnot. Yeah, there's a lot of people that break up over that kind of stuff. And I've always felt that, you know, people can break up anytime and they can always get back together.
Yeah.
You know, if you need to go find yourself and figure out what it is you want to do. Or if, you know, two people want to talk and come to an agreement of what they're going to do. Like, I think what I've learned being 62 is that there comes a certain point in time in your marriage where the things that you base your marriage on, they no longer apply. Like, it ain't no kids to be considered. Like, we got to talk about the kids. And what school are they going to go to? We're going to have them play basketball or take up an instrument and this and that and blah, blah, blah and all this other kind of stuff. You know, you just got to get to a point to where, and what church are we going to go to?
Yeah.
You know, what kind of neighborhood do we want to live in? All that kind of stuff. A lot of that stuff don't apply no more. And
you have to understand that that's true. Relationships have evolution.
Right.
And so that's why it's important to talk about what all those things look like before you get married. And you don't think that it's just going to always be the way that it is now, because it's not.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, a lie is a lie, and a lie usually comes to light. And a dream is just a dream. That's all it is. And dreams don't last forever. That's why it's always important to get new dreams. You start new dreams. Once you've achieved a dream, you start a new one. You can't just hang on to a dream forever. You can go down with the ship like that, trying to make something happen. You have to learn how to live a dream, live another dream, get a new dream, get a new inspiration or something like that. Because if you're dependent on one person to just be that dream, and that might be cool for somebody. Somebody's like, this the woman I've been with my whole life, and I want to die each other's arms in the bed like the Notebook. I want to die like the Notebook, the story that all the women love, the Notebook.
They didn't die in each other's arms.
They didn't?
Did they?
I don't remember. But anyway, but the thing was, he was dedicated to her.
Yeah.
Even though she had Alzheimer's and she didn't remember him and stuff, she remembered him sometimes. He was dedicated. This is the woman I loved all my life.
I think they broke up and then he found her later or something like that. I don't know. It's been a while since I watched it.
Well, whatever the case may be, the bottom line is this. It's on an independent, individual basis of how you handle your different relationships.
Yes.
You can't compare yourself to somebody else and say, I want to be just like them.
Right. It's not going to happen.
It don't work. You ain't them and they ain't you.
Yeah.
So it don't work that way.
That's why we're called individuals.
That's what we're called individuals. We're born in this world as individuals. You can have siblings and you don't have nothing to do with them. Because the bottom line is y'all don't have nothing in common anymore. Like when you grow up and become an adult, you're not kids. If a bond remains, then you remain in touch with that person. But if the bonds is broken and stuff and y'all just going your separate ways and stuff, you're individuals.
Yeah. Even
twins can be individuals, where one wants to go live in Vermont and one wants to go live in Acapulco or something. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, yo, brother, love you, man, but I got to go. I got to go too. And you go and live your individual lives. Because it's your life and you only got, like they say, you only got one life to live. So you have to live it to the fullest and to the best of your ability. And you need to figure out who you want to partner up with in life. It's not just about getting married. It's about getting a partner. Someone that communicates the way you communicate. Somebody that likes some of the things that you like. They ain't got to like everything you like. But they need to like some of the things because those few things are the things that you all can use to communicate with each other and bond together on different things. She likes totally different stuff from me. You know what I'm saying? She can go sit in the park and watch some birds in the tree and be like, oh, isn't this nice? And I'll be like, what time the game come on? I feel like, man, I'm missing the playoffs or something like that. That's living. And that brings me to another thing. Life is yin and yang. And the yin and yang for me is living and existing. When you're working, especially when you're young and you out here working your job and stuff, you're existing.
Yeah.
Before that, before you had to grow up and get a job, you was just living.
Yeah.
Your parents took care of everything. You living. You're like, that's a wonderful life. You're living. When you're free to do what you want to do, that's living. Yeah. When you're restricted and you have to do things like you have to go to work, got to go to school, got to get this degree, this and that, that's existing. And the thing,
to find a balance.
You want to find a balance in life, somehow to balance it. And then when you get older, the goal is to be more living than you are existing, like working a job, working a daily job, working a job that you hate or something like that. Your goal is to not be in that situation, to have gone through that through your 20s to 35, crappy job, finally get your great job, a position that you want, 40 going into 50, maybe 60 or whatever, up to retirement or whatever. That's the ideal thing.
Yeah.
But you got to balance living and existing. And if you're just constantly working all the time, you're just existing. Yep. You're not enjoying life. So whatever y'all do,
enjoy the journey. That's my favorite.
Yeah, but try to keep a balance. Keep a balance in that living and existing.
Yeah.
Because it can make a lot of people bitter.
Yeah.
When you get to this age, if you still just 100% just existing, it can make you real bitter. I know some people that are not really happy with their life, Like, some people I know, they would, I wish I'd had some kids. I wish I would have had like one kid, blah, blah, blah. Even if I wasn't married, I would have just liked to have had one. I wouldn't mind having me some grandkids, great grandkids. We're fortunate. You know what I'm saying?
We have 6 grandkids.
Yeah.
And 1 great grand.
We got 6 grandkids?
Yes.
Yeah.
6 grandkids, 1 great grand.
Yeah, 1 great grand. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we're blessed in that manner. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I would just tell people, man, find that balance.
I think we do pretty good.
I do think we do pretty good. And another thing that I can tell you that's the truth about life, having a whole bunch of stuff, it's just having a whole bunch of stuff. You don't need it. I'm not saying don't get it. I'm not saying don't go out and get Lamborghinis and all kinds of stuff, because all that stuff is fun. You're living, and if you live in a fast life, you live in a fast life. But you don't have to do that to enjoy life, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. You got to find the things that make you happy.
Find the things that
enjoying.
Find the things that make you happy. Having a bigger house and all that kind of stuff, it don't really make a difference. Especially if you get a house when you're young and you got kids, all you're going to do is be in that old house by yourself, you and your wife. You know what I'm saying? Empty ass rooms. Grandkids, they come over, might spend a weekend or something like that. It gets used and but for the most part, a bunch of empty ass rooms. Ain't nobody in them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you thinking about moving downstairs, so you ain't got to be walking up the stairs all the time. We should turn the dining room into a bedroom, right there by the kitchen. You know what I'm saying? Not too far away from the bathroom too. Hey man, things change when you get older.
That's true.
Things change. So you don't want to be sorry. You don't want to be out here being sorry about life. Wonder where have all my friends gone? You don't want to be out here like that, man.
I think this was good. We had a lot of good conversations today.
I think so too. I hope y'all learned something. Some of y'all out there, I hope y'all learn and listen to the things that we was talking about. Balancing life. Choosing a partner in life. Choosing a partner. Don't just choose a husband. Don't just choose a wife. Get you a partner. That's what you need to do, because at the end of the day, that's what it is at the end of the day. We partners in life, and we on this journey together, side by side. Yeah. You ascend to a higher level in your relationship with people. Yeah. You ascend to a higher level. And you go through some things and you survive some things. I saw a couple, somebody asked a couple, it was, oh, you guys been together all those years? How you all been together? And they both said that they both agreed that we're in this together, ain't no leaving, and no matter what happens, we ain't breaking up. So that means another man, another woman, your husband come out the closet, your wife decides she likes her coworker, which is a secretary, a female woman, something like that. This couple said, no matter what, we sticking together and we gonna work through it. I ain't going nowhere and you ain't going nowhere. So that means they could have went through something where it's like, yo, you know what? We ain't talking right now. I ain't feeling this person right now.
Yeah, but they worked through it.
But they working through it. You know what? I don't like the fact that, you got this extra person in your life or whatever and blah, 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 so on and so. I don't like it and this and that. But you know what? Those people, they work through that kind of stuff. That's what being partners is all about.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. You work through different things because there are phases and things that you go through. There's times we didn't like each other at all.
That's true.
Period.
But you know what? Even through that, you know what? The one constant that I could always say about you. I mean, we've known each other since we were 14.
That's true.
There's one constant that I have always been able to say about you that I have since I've known you. And you know what that is?
We're friends. We're best friends.
Yes. So there's more than one. So one, we're best friends.
Yes.
We've always been best friends even when we didn't like each other.
Yeah.
Number two, I know that even through the times where we didn't agree or we didn't like each other, that I could always trust you.
Yeah.
Like,
we always wanted to
protect me. That's the word. Protect.
Yeah, I would always protect you.
You always protect me no matter what.
No matter what. And good friends are always going to be there for their friend. Friends make friends mad.
But they're still friends.
But they're still friends, and they work through it, and they usually make up and stuff. That's what being like really good friends is all about.
I think that's why my dad really liked you, because he knew that you would always protect me.
Yeah, that's right.
And that was the one thing, and we've always been able to
absolutely
base our friendship on that. So
absolutely, you know. So people, when you go through different things out there, when you run into these jagged rocks in your marriage and stuff like that, don't be so quick to dismiss each other, unless you really just don't like each other. If you marry somebody, you find out you like, you know what, I ain't feeling you at all, man. I made a mistake.
Yeah.
Okay, get out of it. Get away from each other. You know, and don't be afraid to stay together but get away from each other.
Yeah, sometimes you need a break.
Right. So like, you don't have to divorce somebody or separate from somebody to just get away from them for a while. Say, you know what, I can't live with you right now. You're getting on my nerves. I need to go over and be on my own. Whether it's just getting out here in life, fooling around, meeting other people and this and that, to get out there and see, well, it ain't that much out here.
That's why it's important. You have to talk about all the things before you get married.
You gotta watch it. You gotta watch it before you go jumping ship out here, because it ain't gonna be look, the older you get, the less is out there. When you're talking about partnering with somebody,
yes,
and being, I ain't talking about just screwing around, you know, jumping into bed, you know, some booty calls. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about when you're looking for somebody to be in your life, a partner or something like that. It is tremendously hard the older you get. The older you get, the harder it is.
Yes.
You're going to meet a whole bunch of jive people that's going to pretend like it because they're going to be trying to fleece you.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to see when they're trying to fleece you. But at the end of the day, take a deep breath, count to 10, and try to work through it.
Yeah.
Even if that means, you know, letting her pack her bags and go stay with her mother or her girlfriend, or go live on the other side of town, or go live in the Dominican Republic or something like that, or Jamaica or something like that for a year or something on their own. You don't have to end your relationship and your marriage.
Right.
You don't. But I can't, I'm not a psychiatrist. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a psychiatrist, and all I know is that you have to give things time sometimes.
Yeah.
You can't rush things. You can't always have things the way you want. And I am a person where I do like to be in control of a lot of things. But I had to come to the realization, there's some things I just don't have no control over.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to stress myself out over it. I might not like it, but I can't be stressing myself over it and giving myself a heart attack or a stroke over something that I have no control over.
Right.
And remember, we don't own each other. Now, I'm sure some people out there, there's some people out there that probably say, listen, let's agree, I own you, you own me. I'm not talking to y'all. But I'm talking to people who get married thinking that marriage means you own somebody.
You don't.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
No.
Y'all don't own each other. Y'all just
It's
agreeing.
still individuals. You're just agreeing to work together.
Yes.
Work together, live together, raise a family together.
That's all you're
doing.
Share
your lives.
That's all you're doing.
But you're still responsible for your own happiness. If you got married thinking somebody's gonna make you happy, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. Ain't gonna happen.
Now, I want to say this. I know a lot of people have different feelings about certain celebrities. Mm-hmm. But I read this book last week. Mm-hmm. It's Jada Pinkett's book called Worthy.
Okay.
It came out in 2023.
All right.
Whether you like her or not, as a female,
okay,
I believe every woman should read that book. Because I resonated with a lot of things, not everything that she went through in her life, but there were some things that I resonated with as a female. And I just believe that book was so good that as a female, it should be required reading.
Really? You feel that
yes,
about that book?
I do. It talked about her young life as a child.
That's impressive.
Her life as a teenager. Things she went through with her parents. Her young life in her 20s. Marriage, raising children, dealing with just things that women go through, trauma, depression, whatever. Mm-hmm. and just all the things. I just think that as women, it's required reading. Whether you like her or not, it's not even about her. It's about listening to the story.
So did she talk about why she told Will to go slap Chris Rock?
She did, and she did not tell him that. There is a whole chapter on the slap. There's a chapter on the slap. There's a chapter on their marriage. There's a chapter on raising the children. It's a good story. It's good.
Chris Rock was like,
So anyway, required reading, ladies. It's good. Everyone can walk away with something from that book.
That's good.
Yeah.
Even Chris Rock.
Whatever. Listen, it's time to go.
Okay.
I'm Rhonda.
I'm Reggie.
And
this is Rhonda
Talk. Thank you for watching.